How was your day? Are you okay? Did you have fun today? These are all, man, if we're being honest, these are conversation killers. Because they're made of a formula that doesn't work. And there's actually a formula for questions that work. And once you understand it, you'll never run out of ways to connect with middle schoolers. So I'm gonna break down the exact patterns that turn dead-end questions into like actual conversation starters. Let's dissect exactly why those questions don't work. The first pattern that we see is a yes or no trap. Did you have a good day? Are your friends being nice? Do you like your teacher? These questions can be answered with a yes, no, and it kills a conversation immediately. Unless you've got a banger of a follow-up, it's gonna end right there. Pattern number 2 is the performance review. How was the test? How are your grades? How was the game? How was practice? This feels more like an interrogation than actually like caring about what their experience has been that day or that week or in school. Pattern number 3 is the emotional assumption. Are you sad? Are you angry about what happened? Do you want to talk about it? You're putting words in their mouth and asking them to confirm or deny the assumption that you've made about them. And here's the thing, all these patterns have one thing in common. They put the middle schooler, who you're trying to connect with, without being weird, in a defensive position. And they either have to perform for you, report to you, or correct your assumption about them. So no wonder they shut down. Here's the formula for questions that actually open up conversation. 3 key ingredients. It's super simple. Don't worry, this isn't like rocket science. It's not something too complex. The first ingredient is just assume competence. Assume they know what they're talking about. So instead of asking if something happened, assume something interesting happened and asked about it. So don't ask, did anything interesting happen today? Ask, hey, what surprised you today? And see the difference? The first question assumes that maybe nothing happened. The second one assumes that they're observant enough to notice surprises. Another example of a good ingredient is ask for their expertise. Position them as the expert of their own experience. So when you're saying like, hey, how was lunch? That's not gonna do anything. But if you say, all right, tell me how it works in the lunchroom. I wanna know what are the politics of the tables, who sits with you, tell me about it. This gives them a chance to be the expert on it and share with you their experience. It gives them a chance to teach you something that they know more about than you do. The third ingredient is create curiosity, not pressure. Your question should make them think, but not make them defend, if that makes sense. So don't ask, hey, why didn't you hang with so-and-so today? You'd say, hey, what do you notice about how friendships work in 7th grade? Tell me about that. Here are some specific patterns that you can adapt for any situation. I know this seems a little bit kind of dry and maybe like formulaic, but they really work. Here's one, the most least pattern. What was the most unexpected thing that happened today? What's the least predictable part of your week? What are you surprised about? What's the most interesting conversation you overheard lately? That's a good one. If you could ask your teacher one honest question, what would it be? See how it frames the question and bases it on their expertise and their opinions rather than what you're projecting on them? Then you've got the what do you notice pattern. You can ask them, hey, what do you notice about how 8th graders and 7th graders, how they act differently and why? And then the last one that I've used is the help me understand pattern. This is something where you could say like, hey, help me understand what makes a good day versus a bad day for you. Or you could ask, help me understand what adults don't get about this age. Notice what all these have in common is they position the middle schooler as the expert because they are. They've got the lock on what their experience is, what middle school is like. You don't. You get to enter into their world through their perspective and through their expertise. And here's where we mess up is we might get a great question locked and loaded, we answer it, it's a great opening question, we get a good response, and then it falls flat, we don't know what to do next. So follow-up is just as important as opening. So here's a couple steps or a couple things to think about to keep that conversation going. The first one is reflect back what you heard. Say something like, it sounds like, or you can ask for more detail. Hey, tell me more about. And then the third thing you can do is ask for their analysis. Remember, they're the expert. What do you think about that? So let's say you ask them, hey, what surprised you the most today? And their answer is, my English teacher actually listened to our input when we were talking about projects. So a follow-up, a way that you can reflect back to them is, so your English teacher doesn't normally like listen to what you have to say and doesn't value your input? Then the detail is, hey, tell me more about what that conversation was like. And the analysis piece that you can go into is, what do you think was different about it today? Were you guys acting differently? Was she feeling differently? What made it different today? So you turned a simple surprise or conversation starter into a whole conversation about respect or power dynamics and what makes adults trustworthy. All because you followed up with curiosity and you were just genuine about your questions. You made it about them, not about you. So here's what you can do this week. Pick one question and use it all week. Master the what surprised you pattern or one other pattern before you move on. And then week 2, practice with the follow-up formula. Ask the question, and then you reflect, detail, and analyze. The difference between adults who connect with middle schoolers and adults who don't isn't like personality or natural talent. It's knowing these formulas. It's being able to give them the power and let them be the expert in the conversation. So assume they have something interesting to share, position them as the expert on their own experience, and then ask with curiosity, not pressure. Your middle schoolers, they're waiting for adults like you and me to engage with them in this way. You got this.